these complaints.
Good afternoon. Today is April 17th at 3:30 p.m. Today's my dad's birthday, guys. If we could get a roll call, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Here.
Here.
Greer is absent.
Have we heard from her? Okay. I am looking for a motion on the approval of the minutes from March 20th.
I will make a motion.
I will second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Capel?
Yes.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Ayes, minutes passed.
Okay. We have a standing point here of unfinished business with the 4th of July in Sizzle. Is there any new information for this meeting?
Yes, so packet page 4. Well, actually, let me cover a couple of other things first, and then we'll turn to packet page 4. So last time we spoke, we talked about confirming the current route for the parade. Just wanted to note that the Civic Association has done the outreach to dignitaries. So I don't know if I know you've had a council float in the past, so
We haven't talked about it yet this year.
did you get notified though, or do we need to make sure that council has been notified?
Notified of what?
Yeah, with a letter. Yeah, okay, maybe you haven't gotten those in the past. Okay,
No,
well, there you go.
I don't
So-
think Cindy Aaron ever considered us dignitaries until you came around and moved us in the parade.
Well, I mean,
I remember that.
all right, well then, there you go. We'll keep that, make sure that's up. Anyway, others have received notification about that, and so they're starting to do that. And I know they're finalizing the grand marshal at this point, so they've not identified a final person yet on that. But then if you turn your attention to page 4 in the packet, so the working group has now started to talk about what happens beyond the parade, i.e., is something happening on the square? Is this something to maybe consolidate with the fireworks in the evening? And we know there have been events connected to the fireworks in the past, so it's not like it's breaking new ground necessarily. But I basically want to report back that I think at this point we are kind of targeting the resources to be directed toward more of an event at the site of the fireworks than trying to layer on an additional activity on the square at the same time we're trying to manage the parade. So, and this is really just a matter of kind of managing resources to make sure that we're not spread too thinly as, you know, as a city and the Civic Association. So what you see in front of you is a sketch. We're currently trying to arrange time to meet with the superintendent and the facilities director. We have a recommendation to see if moving the fireworks to potentially the new high school. We may have alluded to that in the past, but working with the fire district and working with our police department have identified a location for where the fireworks could be and a tentative setup for what the site could look like at the high
Excuse me, are
school.
we looking at the high school or the middle school?
This is the new high school.
Okay.
Yep. This is the new high school. So, you know, there's still some work to be done on it, but I think really the point here is we need to see if this is something the school district is willing to entertain. They have been notified. We've talked to them a couple of times on the staff level. The superintendent is aware that we're trying to schedule some time with him.
Okay.
He's heard about this request. He's asked that our police and fire come join me in a discussion about that so we can understand really the pros and cons and to make sure that they are fully supportive of this direction, which they are. So
Both police and fire are okay with moving it to the high school?
yes. Yep.
It seems like a good venue, and I'm curious if we have it there, what kind of feedback we'd get from the public. Because I can tell you at the old high school,
Mhm.
the benefit is you can see it everywhere. Like our whole community when I was living, you know, and still to this day, you'll have Rolling Hills, Sunbury Meadows, Price Ponds all pull up along Route 3 in the green space to watch it.
Yeah.
So here, there's really not as much availability, I don't think, to look north as there is. So I'm just curious what the feedback will be. I think it's a great space to like get people in and out, you know, traffic wise, and plenty of green space for them to sit in and watch it. So it might be.
So I'll say this, that the fire district has indicated that, you know, if this is the location, they will go to a different side of what am I trying to say?
Fireworks.
Fireworks, right.
Good.
That the low light, firework, yeah, go ahead.
So if it were to take place at the high school, the low shooting fireworks, you know, the little pop, they sparkle and fizz. They were gonna cut those out of the show, so you're gonna have only 6-inch shells. And those are the ones that specifically shoot higher, so it's gonna be a higher, bigger show.
At the high school.
Yes,
If we end up there.
if we end up there.
I think there would be other places that are visible. I think we were talking about like the Kroger, parking lot probably becomes a site where people would be able to view it.
Okay.
I think they viewed it there. Didn't folks go to the Kroger parking lot and watch the fireworks the way at the middle school?
Yeah.
So if you were already doing that, you could
Yeah.
still do that. You just turn your chair the other way.
I definitely heard of people going to Kroger.
Yeah.
Last year, didn't you or something?
No.
Somebody invited us to Kroger for the fireworks.
Did they?
Which was, yeah.
Maybe an odd thing, but anyway, nothing confirmed here yet, but we'll keep you posted on how that conversation goes.
And so as far as it being an event, it's food trucks in the kids zone.
Food trucks, kids zone, might be a small little stage for music, like DJ kind of stuff. Place to hold the hot dog eating contest, if there is a baking contest. I mean, at least there'd be sort of a place to kind of draw people's attention to do that kind of stuff. It's not designated on here yet, but I mean, that could be part of what we're thinking about. This does require, us to cordon off, pretty significant areas, but our service team has been a part of the discussion and they know what they would need to do to facilitate that. There are gates, I think, that can prevent you from going around the backside of the high school. So, we would work to get those closed in advance. So,
So they would allow traffic on both Kittner and Miller going in and out.
PD hasn't necessarily said what their traffic plan would be. But they do acknowledge that they think it's easier to get them out, to get the vehicles out of there. I've never been on a Friday night with a football game, but obviously they feel like that could be a comparable, sized crowd in the.
We haven't, and I wouldn't say it's really the traffic as much as it is parking. Everyone's just parking everywhere. It's just nuts.
Yeah. And I think we would anticipate that that's going to happen again here.
Sure. Because we've had the advantage of being able to just walk across the street from fireworks, and to your point, there are so many people in the communities that can stay home and watch them. I'm wondering, because football games, the parking lot this fall, we're lining the street. Is there an option to maybe partner with Delaware County Transit Flex and have people shuttle benefits moved to the high school? Because I think parking will be an issue and not everybody's going to be able to stay at home or get in their community and watch the fireworks. It's moved.
Yep, great point. We definitely have been talking about transit in other capacities, so maybe that's another
Certainly a
conversation
phone
to have.
call.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had shuttles last year for 4th of July, right? Was it 4th of July or am I thinking of a different
You
event?
might be thinking of Sizzle.
Yeah,
Was it Sizzle? Yeah, okay.
I don't know that there have been,
Right.
there's been a transit option for the fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you're right. Folks in the communities, the gardens, the folks that live near them in that, whatever, it's not a neighborhood, but there's a lot of folks that can drive in golf carts and yeah.
And walk and exactly, yeah.
Mhm.
But maybe that's, you've got the estates that are over there as well. You certainly have that apartment complex in that area.
Yeah, you have the Sunbury, it's just a different neighborhood.
Yeah.
So because people will ask, why are we doing this? What's our main reason for considering switching?
So both police and fire have said that they think it's, one, it's safer.
Okay.
The launch would be safer. You've got more room. You're away from,
Houses
and what have you. Exactly. So fire department thinks that it is a safer option to go there.
Okay.
And the police department says it will be much easier to manage traffic
Okay.
out of that site than the current site.
Okay.
I think your real selling point to the public is if you get bigger fireworks.
Yeah, there you go.
Sold.
Well, and
You're boom.
I like the idea of having your event before the fireworks rather than after the parade because it's just so hot at noon or noon to 4. I mean, it's just so hot, and it kind of gives everybody the opportunity to go back, have lunch, kids nap. Everyone cools off in the AC, and then when it sunsets a little bit, we can all go back out.
Yeah.
Somebody mentioned golf carts, and I know, in the new neighborhoods, they're all over the place. I wonder if we had a designated spot for golf carts and advertised that, you might be able to find some efficiencies in parking by encouraging people to drive golf carts.
Yes,
Maybe
properly,
even if there's
properly
like a
licensed.
grassy area that they could
Licensed
park
golf
in.
carts.
Well, yeah, licensed ones. I don't know how many of ours are licensed that I see
Yeah,
around.
but they get golf carts going to the football games, so sure, I think
Oh.
if we talked to the police about that, but I would think we could designate a spot for those and.
I make sure we put that on the future working group agenda. So both of those points. Okay.
How many businesses up and down Kentner would end up with people camped out in the parking lots and stuff too?
It'll be a learning curve.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure Amber will post stuff too about like,
Mhm.
we're gonna give it a try, we're all gonna do our best, and we're growing, and we're trying to make it safe and fun for everyone. Amber can massage it.
Well, I mean, in the short time I've been here, I mean, 3 years, I think an important point to remember, of course, is that, this is a fireworks for, the entire Big Walnut area. It's not the city of Sunbury's fireworks, it's the Big Walnut area. And at one point we had.
Anyone else contributing financially to these fireworks, or just the city of Sunbury?
As I understand it, just the city. No, to go back to our partners,
Yeah,
talk to them, even if it's a modest contribution. It's worth doing.
Proportionate to population size.
And at least the idea was kicked around at one point of trying to maybe move it out to the township.
We talked years ago about to see if we could do it out at like Harley Davidson or the outlet mall, because we were thinking like the parking out there and stuff, and I forget why it didn't work. Somebody, I don't know if it was Berkshire at the time wasn't interested, or if it was, do you remember? I mean, this is years ago.
I don't remember. I like the idea of doing it locally too, where at least a significant part of the city can walk out their back door and watch it, right? I mean, we ought to all go to Tim Gose's house.
Oh, great idea. Don't
There you
tell
go.
Dave Breen, he'll be mad.
3 of us ought to
Go, yeah.
Some BZA members and other folks that live over in that
There you
neighborhood
go.
too, so. Okay, very good.
All
Thank you for bringing
you.
that to the
Yep.
committee.
Yep.
Okay, moving on to new business, we have a disc golf event.
This one is being put on by the Blackjack Disc Golf Club. This is a new group that's coming to host the event. They're going to call this the Kenslow Marathon. It says to be determined Alzheimer's, but they're going to donate 20 to 25% of the funds. I think it's $50 to play to the American Alzheimer's Association. The rest of those fees go back into the event and what it costs to put on the event. It's going to take place July 5th from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. They do have a rain date on here of August 9th at the same time. He did say they expect around 72 people to show up to this. It'll be a one-day event and they'll play a total of 3 rounds. They've requested no use of the city's electric or anything. They're going to clean up their own trash. This has gone through emergency services and our services department, and there's been no red flags.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Okay. Moving on to the 4th of July special permit. It looks like it begins on packet page 12. Is this for the 4th of July, or the parade
Parade
only?
only, yep.
Okay,
And if you've had a second to look at it, the route has not changed from last year. The current route is listed on packet page 20. This has been discussed thoroughly in the working group as well as with police, emergency services, and our services team. I've submitted the application to them. They've told me they have no red flags at this time, just because the application looks the same as last year.
And then the one thing that's changing on our end is we're going to have more eyes on how it happens. Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing, I'm not sure if everyone knows, so the police chief has reached out to ODOT already. We have received the permit to allow for the closure of State Route 37.
Okay, great. I know that'll make him happy.
Yeah.
Any discussion? Is there gonna be a apple for council foot?
No. No, there will not be.
Okay, moving on, we have a Patriots Memorial Project. This looks
Yep.
like it's on packet page 19, is that?
Yeah, so I just want to today just give you a little introduction to this project. We will have a representative from the Daughters of the American Revolution at our next meeting to talk about this. So, so the 250th anniversary of the, the founding of the city or the founding of the country happens in 2026. So Declaration of Independence signed 1776, 250 years later. All right, here we are. So the Daughters of the American Revolution is looking to do some kind of a memorial to recognize the patriots who fought in the Revolutionary War, whose either gravesite is unmarked or unidentified or lost in some way, shape, or form. And they're doing the research to identify Delaware County individuals from Delaware County who would have fought in that war at that time, although how they figure out that they were from Delaware County when Ohio wasn't a state, I don't know the answer to that, but they're still figuring that out. Long story short, they are looking to have a memorial of some sort in the three cities in Delaware County, the three primary Delaware County cities. So Sunbury, Delaware, Powell. And what you have in your packet is a proposal that's been put together with the help of the city of Delaware, asking for creating a design competition, basically putting out to the design community, asking them to submit proposals for what this Veterans Mark Memorial might look like. So you'd have 3 different sites in 3 different communities, but the attempt is to try to find some way to unify them so that people could visit all 3 sites as kind of a tourism related exercise. The names that would be on the Sunbury plaque would be those that they've kind of identified as being in the eastern portion of the county. So they are kind of trying to find a way to designate and break up the recognitions, if you will. The Delaware County Veterans Service Office is also supporting this project as well and will be providing the funding for the memorials themselves. At this point, although they haven't budgeted it yet, or they haven't gone through their board yet, it looks like it could be somewhere in the neighborhood of about $100,000 for each of the 3 communities to put in some kind of a memorial. Again, the design of that memorial is still to be decided. So when the Daughters of the American Revolution representative comes next month, we'll have a sense of the service, the Veteran Services Office commitment and what the budget might look like. So one of the things we've been tasked with is trying to identify a site where maybe this monument could be located. So staff has started to put together a list of some potential sites. It really will depend upon, in some ways, what the design ends up being as to what would be the best possible site. I will tell you that at least the city of Delaware has identified a site within their cemetery that's really set aside for veterans recognition. So they kind of have a built-in site. The city of Powell may be considering something in their kind of where their municipal building is now. They're kind of reworking that green space in there. They've got a very, very large municipal building and they may be redesigning that something smaller. So they're looking at maybe that location. And again, we need to identify one for us. We certainly have some space over at the cemetery, and particularly in the old segment of the cemetery that fronts to Columbus Street. I mean, that could be an option. But again, we'll come back with a more definitive list for you to kind of think about. Beyond that, I don't know that there's, unless anybody has any questions on what happens, at this point, there's still a lot that still needs to be decided. The design competition will take place after the Veteran Service Office has determined what the budget looks like. The call for artists and designs, is not meant to be strictly localized, although they will be looking for local artists, but, it could be an artist from really anywhere could submit an application. And then there'll be a committee that'll go through the process of selecting the design. So ours could be slightly different than Powell, could be slightly different than Delaware, but again, some sort of unifying theme about all of it. So they've asked that it be an accessible site, that asks that it be sort of an interactive, at least the draft asks that it's an interactive, memorial in some way, shape, or form. So, that's at least what's being kicked around.
Does interactive just mean things to read?
Yeah,
Does
it could be.
interactive mean it interact back? So-
Holograms.
Pretzel built into it or something.
Yeah, I mean, something that you could touch,
Yeah.
maybe the names are engraved in and you could sort of touch and see, and you could maybe go around the monument, there's a path or a walkway that gets you, all the way in and around it, that kind of stuff. Not
They're
a swing
handling,
set or something,
the-
not that kind of thing.
they're handling the research, they're handling the funds, they're handling they're just asking that we help pick a place for them to put it in our city.
To place it, yeah, if we want to be a part of that.
Okay.
We don't have to be a part of that, but, again, the idea that it could be 3 unique sites around the county, again, might make
That's
it
kinda
interesting. Yeah.
Really neat idea.
Okay, anyway, we'll have somebody at the next meeting to talk a little bit more about the organization and what their goal was.
Thank you.
I did have one other item as we were talking about the Kinslow golf event. I'm reminded of a question you asked us the last time. Did we need to go to city council for the street closure of the
Memorial Day?
event? That's right. So we did go back and look at the decision-making matrix, and that event is actually one of those that's listed as not going in front of council. So
Okay.
we don't.
Yeah, I think you emailed me that. I
Yeah.
think Alyssa emailed
I think
me
we
that.
did, yeah.
Okay.
But, so I think our plan is to bring you an updated version of the matrix here soon,
Mhm.
so that if we've got any, we've got some new events that are emerging, so we want to make sure we capture those, but also just to kind of look at it again and see if there need to be any changes. So,
Well, I think we came up with that. How long have we had this committee? 3 years?
Yeah.
So.
it's been about 3.
probably
And one thing that,
things have changed.
it's kind of come up, and Dave Martin mentioned it, is when there's an event at Kinslow that's after hours, that's something we didn't have on there before. And, we have an ordinance basically says the park's closed down at dusk. So yeah, that's the type of thing that I think we just need to get updated.
Any visitors this afternoon?
Actually, I don't know if you guys are aware, it just occurred to me, I've been speaking with Alicia Sleeper, the school teacher of the Nanawa. She reached out to me today and we confirmed that May 13th, I think, is the Tuesday, from 9 to 10:30, we would have the ribbon cutting and just time for people to go out and check out the path. However, she said she's having issues getting the stands. And so that might change when they get them installed and therefore change the ribbon cutting as well. So just wanted to keep you guys in the loop with that. I will update you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know they were hoping to have that for the middle school service day, which I feel like is before then,
It is, May 9th.
May 9th.
Yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully they get those. Okay. It's not on the agenda, but were we gonna talk this month about potentially moving our meeting
have it on next month's agenda.
That's on next month's agenda. Okay, so the next meeting is May 15th. That's the third Thursday. Okay. Okay, anything else from staff? Anything else from the committee? I will take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Cooper?
Yes.
Mr. Capel?
Yes.
Adjourned.
Thank you.